Hello folks, in this one I'm going to look at some pretty boring cars, but they're boring cars that are actually pretty good in terms of reliability, in terms of the job they do, and hopefully in terms of their running costs. Certainly with most of these. I'm also going to let you know the ULEZ situation. Obviously that might be different where you live. Even if it's not, do go and check for yourself before you go and buy a car, because things change all the time. And at the time you're watching this video, the goalposts may have moved. Let's crack on. So we're starting things off with the Toyota Auris, and this one's a complete no-brainer. Whilst it might have the personality of a wardrobe, it's actually a really good car. It's beneath it all, basically a Prius without the Prius badge and the weird Prius looks. This is a car that is not particularly sort of outstanding to look at. It's a wee bit dull, I guess you could say, but it's absolutely brilliant. You're going to get fantastic reliability from it. You're also going to find that things like the MPG are very good. You've got a really low insurance group. So it's only insurance group 9, which for a car in its class is incredible. But look at the fuel economy, 78.5 MPG. In the real world, you'll get 60 from that, 60 MPG. And you can drive around in this car. To be honest, it's not the worst looking thing in the world. You're just not going to look back on it and think, "Whoa," are you? But also, you're not going to look like an Uber driver in it. And I know some of these are used as taxis and Ubers, but usually it's the Prius, isn't it? By the way, you need to do a proper history check if you're going to get one of these because of that Uber issue. 56,000 miles on this one, 2017 model with 2 owners. It's that 1.8 litre hybrid. It's the one I'd go for without a doubt because it's just a complete no-brainer. 9,658 quid. You will find higher mileage versions of this for a lower price, and there are plenty of them around. All of them should be ULEZ compliant. It's just a brilliant car if you're not too much of a snob about what you drive. Now look at this. This is, in my opinion, nowhere near as good a car. But for the money, it's crazy. It looks like a turd, and this brown paint only helps. It's the Dacia Logan MCV. This one's the 0.9 litre TCE Ambience Euro 6. This one's an N-Reg 2017, nearly 80,000 miles on it, 4,400 quid. That's bananas. 57 mpg they claim on it, insurance group 8, and it's got 573 litre boot. So if you want big, if you want reliable, and you're really not bothered about the way it looks and sort of creature comforts and stuff, you can't go far wrong with this for about the same price as a new iPhone. Are they that much yet? I'm not sure. If you really don't care what other people think, then you could get yourself a bit of a bargain with this. Few issues with them are known, one being with the diesel models, diesel linking into the engine bay, and some with the driver's airbag not deploying. So have a look at those things if they've been corrected or if there've been recalls on them, anything like that. Petrol models from 2015 onwards are usually ULEZ compliant. The Honda Jazz looks like a pension plan, doesn't it? Uh, People say it looks like your nan's car. That's because it probably is. Incredible reliability. It's got those crazy magic seats, which are massively practical. And it really is a small car that you can cram a lot into. I think they're decent enough little cars to drive as well, in all fairness. But they've just got that stigma of being the old person's car, and you can't have one unless you're under 65 and you've got your bus pass in your pocket. It shouldn't be the way because it is a brilliant thing. Massively reliable. Running costs on them can be crazy. You'll get upwards of 50 mpg in the real world on one of these. I just want to show you something on the Jazz, and it's important to note because loads of cars in this country have this going on, and that's that they're actually Japanese imports. So what you see on the back is there is a standard size UK number plate, but you see it's got space for a big square Japanese number plate. And the easiest way to tell is it's called a Fit and not a Jazz. Now, lots of people have had Japanese import cars over the years with no problems, but during the import process, it's a great time to give the mileage a little bit of a haircut. Obviously, your service history, if you've got any, it's going to be in Japanese, and you may find things like your speedo is in kilometers per hour rather than miles per hour. I personally just avoid Japanese imports and stick to UK cars. But that's, of course, up to you. But I just wanted to point that out. But if you want a little car that can do everything and won't cause you any drama, then the Honda Jazz is not a bad way to go. Now, if you want to get that full history check on your car, I strongly suggest going to VCheck. I have got an affiliate link in the video description, and I'm popping a QR code up on the screen for you as well. The reason I use VCheck rather than another one that every other YouTuber seems to promote is that it's much, much cheaper and does the same thing. Before I'd ever made a YouTube video, or indeed before I thought about making YouTube videos, I was using VCheck, and that seems like a good place to start, doesn't it? The key thing that you'll get from a site like VCheck over the checks you get on something like Auto Trader, so you'll see here it says full history, all checks passed, and it says not recorded as stolen, not recorded insurance write-off, all these things. But what it doesn't do is show you unrecorded write-offs. And these are cars that have been categorized as like an S or an N. So they've been written off, but the insurance company didn't log it. And they don't have to log it. But then you might be lucky enough to get salvage history on it, which will show you photos of the car when it went through a salvage auction. And generally, those photos will be in its pre-repaired state. So you can see exactly where the damage was, what the damage was. You may still want to buy the car, but possibly chip the owner down a bit. But if you do want to buy the car, you can at least see where the damage was and check out the quality of the repairs. So if you want to get one of those checks, they start from £3 and the top one's a tenner. There's a link in the video description and a QR code on screen for you. The Suzuki Swift is next. Lightweight, fun to drive, Japanese reliability, surprisingly good equipment levels. There's a lot to like about the Suzuki Swift. It's solid, cheap to insure, typically trouble-free. I'd probably go for one from 2017 onwards, and you can get a decent one with fairly low miles for sort of 8.5, 9 grand. And there are plenty of them about, as you can see. Really solid little car that hopefully won't let you down, and it is really good fun to drive. Right, Hyundai Ioniq. This is the only all-electric car that I've included in this video. You'll see here, this one's 2018, 67,000 miles, 7.5 grand. It looks like it was designed by two different people. One did the front and one did the back, and they didn't talk in between. But it's actually a really good car. It's not particularly fast. It's not particularly cool. But it's a lot of car for the money. This one's got 174 miles of range claimed. It's a 28 kilowatt hour battery. Battery longevity on these is supposed to be amongst the best in class. 0 to 62, 9.9 seconds, so you're not getting that crazy EV performance. But a lot of people don't want that. A lot of people just want a reliable car that's good value for money, that's going to do the job for them. Obviously, no ULEZ worries with this either because it's fully electric. Only one owner on this one, 7.5 grand for a 2018 car, I don't think is too bad. The Skoda Yeti. Now, a lot of people absolutely despise the look of these things. I've always quite liked them, and they look way better than the Skoda Roomster, which I can't think of anything good to say about its design. I actually think this one's quite individual. The 1.2 TSI SEL, this one is. The earlier TSI engines had quite a few issues, so I'd probably go for a later one if I were you. 11 grand. You can also get diesels. There's also 1.4 petrol in this era. I think they'd stopped doing the 1.6 by then. 69,000 miles on this one. 2 owners, 2016 model. 51 mpg is claimed. Insurance group 15, which again is good for a car of its size. They drive absolutely great. Plenty of practicality. Pretty rugged little things, and we used to have one as a family car actually, and I loved it. Toyota Yaris Cross is an absolutely brilliant car that's a bit boring. A bit boring in terms of its styling, both interior and exterior, but it's phenomenal. Obviously, honestly, it's just a great car. I actually really like driving them. I think they're good fun to drive. 41,000 miles on this one, 2021 model, 16,390 quid. But the real star of the show is the fuel economy. 64 mpg is claimed, and I've had 60 mpg out of one of those over a week, using the car as I always do and driving it as I always do, not trying to hypermile, aircon blasting, everything on, and I've had 60 mpg out of that in the real world over a week. 42,000 miles, 2021 model, one owner. This one is a Toyota approved used. If you're looking at Toyotas, their approved used thing is very good. Get yourself the service plan with it or whatever, and they will look after you handsomely. 16,390 quid for one of the most reliable cars on the road that will give you some of the best MPG, real world MPG, and is actually decent enough fun to drive. That's really a good shout. A lot of people wouldn't even consider a Yaris Cross, but they're doing themselves a massive disservice. Folks, just a very quick reminder to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Thanks. Dacia Duster. Oh, I really don't like these things. I think it's a hideous looking car. And look at that for an interior. Wow. Just there. 8,990 quid, 2021 model, 60,000 miles on the clock. A lot of people call the Dacia Duster cheap and nasty, but the reality of it is, if you go for the 1.3 petrol, which is probably the one I'd go for rather than this 1 litre, it's probably the best engine for long-term peace of mind. It's got a good reliability record. It's a pretty solid car all round. It's just a bit boring and a bit unfashionable, isn't it? In terms of ULEZ, most of the petrol models from 2019 onwards are going to be fine, but always check for up-to-date details, as I said. Toyota Aygo X. This is probably like the coolest car here in terms of it's at least got a bit of style to it. It looks like someone's designed it and thought about it a bit more than perhaps some of the other cars, which are generic at best. The 1 litre VVTi pure hatchback, this one is 10.5 grand with 42,000 miles on it. That's a 2023 car though, so this is a very new car. Again, this one's Toyota approved used as well, so that's a great thing to do, but you could save yourself a few quid by buying independently or from buying privately. 58 mpg, insurance groups 5, which is incredible. Obviously no ULEZ issues with this whatsoever, and you've got the sort of city car running costs with a little crossover SUV kind of thing that is a little bit funky, actually. There you go, I've said it. Extremely reliable. Like if you look at any reliability survey for small cars, this will be number 1 or 2. Really cheap to run and surprisingly practical for the size of the car you've got. There have been a few recalls on them, so if you do get one, make sure the recalls have been done. But aside from that, no sort of known reliability problems, and they're all Euro 6. So a really good shout. And then finally, here's a little wild card for you. You can get these dirt cheap. Look at this, 3 grand, 2012 model Mitsubishi ASX. And it's a car that's so unexceptional that a lot of people don't even know they exist. They've never even heard of one. There have been 1 or 2 little reliability issues with them. The 1.6 petrol's probably the way to go. And most of those petrol versions from 2011 onwards are going to be ULEZ compliant as well. MPG's middling on this, about 36 MPG, so nothing special at all. And it's really not a very exciting car in any way, but it should be reasonably reliable, reasonably practical. And it's only 3 grand for a 2012, which is not hideous, is it? There you go, folks. I hope you've enjoyed that. A little bit of fun, really, but I just want to show you that there are some really good cars out there that people don't go for. There are loads of people out there that will go and buy themselves a cool little car and it will break down, it will cost them a load of money, and they'll moan about it and they won't be happy about it. And in fact, if they'd gone and bought themselves a Toyota Auris or a Honda Jazz or something, they'd have probably been ridiculed by a lot of their friends, but they'd have something that just works every time they go out to it. It's not going to leave them stranded on the M4. They're not going to have problems going out to start it. Obviously, some people do have problems, folks, and there are cars that have been poorly maintained and cars that have been well maintained. But we're talking in big generalisms here. And if you haven't got the money to keep a cool car on the road, don't be afraid to get yourself a boring one until you do, because there's nothing wrong with it. Don't forget, if you want to get yourself a history check, my affiliate link is in the video description. It helps support the channel, as do thumbs up and subscriptions that don't cost you a penny. Thanks ever so much for watching, folks. I'll see you on the next one. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.